So if you clicked on this video, I can tell you this isn't an inspirational video right now, but it's more of a for your information and some real information on ground about what's going on. Probably thought about getting into IT if you've clicked on this video, and I can tell you that things are changing right now, but it's still a great time to try and get into it. But how you get into the IT role is something that's still a bit of a mystery. It's a little murky. Obviously you need the training, you need the time, but experience tends to be one of those things that seems to be holding people back. I'm an IT recruiter right now, and just the other day I was talking with a kid and he wanted to get into more of a help desk role, and he couldn't figure out why no one would hire him. He had been through college and he had applied for a few jobs and done some kind of crappy contracting gigs and was really frustrated and blaming, I guess, a lot of the reason he hasn't been hired on some of the other people or some of the other companies that did not hire him. I asked him if he had any certifications and he had said no, and he kind of thought that just his bachelor's degree would get him where he needed to go. The other problem was he just sounded depressed, angry, mad. You know, I have to admit, I probably wouldn't hire him just based off of his tone. So I want to talk about my journey into IT and where I'm at now. I'm not there, but I know I definitely want to head in that direction. And even though that we've seen a lot of layoffs, there's still an opportunity. It's not the same opportunity that it was. I think IT's changing quite a bit. And where you saw these crazy big salaries and just instant offers, I don't think you're getting that anymore because things are changing. How we use tech, etc. is changing. But the skills we still need those, support as well as development skills, and how you get them can vary a lot. And while college can help with computer science background and is really important for some of the IT jobs that are out there, there's definitely a lot of jobs that need certifications and experience. And getting that experience, especially those first 2 years, can be tough. It's something that I'm working on right now to try and figure out how to get that first 2 years easily. If you're young, single, or in a relationship but childless, that is a great time to take any contract you can in order to start some experience. So that's my first tip. You see a lot of these kind of boot camps, not code camps, but boot camps where you come out with like network security, A+, and those are great, like My Computer Career or some of the other ones, not paid by the way. But these are great ways to get into some of those entry-level jobs that need the certifications, but there's no silver bullet to go from a 4-year college degree into an IT world job. You gotta go through internships, but you might have to work through some contracting gigs. The next thing I want to talk about as far as getting into IT and getting the skills that you need is being positive. I was reading the other day that when George Clooney was getting turned down by a lot of directors for roles. And the thing that you need to think about is don't get mad about them not picking you. You need to go into an interview to see how can you help solve that person's problem. You need to convince them that you are the right person to solve their problems and focus on their problems as opposed to your single problem of getting the job. So the second tip I want to give is having a positive mindset and going into every interview that you're looking at about how you are the best, most cost-effective solution for that hiring manager's problems, whether it's help desk, computer engineer, software engineer, enterprise architect, whatever. Go into those interviews with that mindset that I can help solve your problem and I'm the best fit for that. Now, you need the skills. So going into the interview with a positive mindset with the correct skills really is important. So the third tip is to research the role. Talk to people on LinkedIn if you'd like, talk to your friends, do a bunch of Google search. If you are going for a software engineer role and the only thing you have is an A+ certification and no coding experience, you're probably not going to be prepared. It also can be a little murky about what certifications or training you do need in order to get into certain roles. But I can say that there's a lot of CompTIA certs that will help you get your foot in the door, and then you can start to work from there, work your connections. You gotta hustle a little bit to get those jobs. One thing I will add too about gaining experience and getting the skills is the National Guard, Air Force, Army, Reserves are a great way to get some IT experience and get paid and get some on-the-job training. So it might be a really easy way for you to build up some experience. Once you're in those networks too, there's a lot of Title 32 government jobs through what they call ADOS or technician roles in IT departments that you can also get a pretty fair shot at getting some experience. Now, the military isn't for everyone, I understand that, but that's just a really simple way. But while you're in there, you'll get a lot of training, you'll get a lot of experience working with other people, both civilian and uniformed, but you'll also get some idea about what skills you need to go into the interview and to apply for the job. You also get some through certification, and again, it falls back on contracting. But if you're coming out of college and you just took the CompTIA exams, you may not know where you're at. So do some research. Google, ask people who work in the industry, ask friends, family, whoever that may be. Talk to different people about what skills you need, and make sure your resume lines up with that and you have those skills. Now, the resume is the next thing. So the fourth thing is you need to have your resume set up so that your skills are clearly listed and what is required for the role is spelled out in your resume. As a recruiter, I talk to a lot of people who go to apply for a job and say, oh, why do that here? Well, it's not listed in your resume. I need that to be in there. And the last thing that really brings kind of like the fifth point I want to make that brings me to the main part of this video is how do I acquire those skills to have to then apply to a job, to then put on my resume, to then know what I need to know to apply for the job and work the job, and it kind of goes down the line. And this kind of is where my experience comes in. I have been working on getting into the IT field. I've kind of bounced around a little bit and looked at some things, and I'd really like to get into the software engineer side, maybe the DevOps engineer or a software engineer, maybe full stack. I'm not exactly sure, but getting into the computer programming, software development side is really interesting to me. Now, there are a lot of different ways to get those skills, and I have seen a lot of my friends go to college, get computer science degrees, but that doesn't necessarily prepare you to become a software engineer. It can help, but what really is your best step is learning the language and learning how it works and understanding the mindset. So kind of feel out what's right for you. I do want to go back to Coursera and check out their IBM certifications. There's some meta certs on there as well, but I want to stick with either the DevOps or the full stack cert through IBM. But I need to take some break because I do learn, I've learned a lot about the ways that I learn, and I spent a lot of time in Codecademy. I love that platform. There's a lot of reading, and for me, the biggest problem I found is, well, why am I learning this? I'm learning how to do this one step or this one line of code and how it works in an environment, but if I don't have a real world application, why am I learning it? Like, what is the end goal of me learning this or applying it? Now, there are some projects in that, but it's just plugging in the same code over. And to me, it's boring. It is a way to learn, but I find it horribly boring, and I was really struggling at going through Codecademy. I love keeping the streaks going, but I would go in, answer 2 questions, and get out just because it's just so boring. But it's such a good platform. It's just boring because of my learning style. It's 100% my fault. I highly recommend Codecademy because it's such a good platform to learn the information on. And there's a lot in there, and it may end up being that it's just my problem, and I won't be destined to become a computer engineer. I don't know, I just want it to be exciting, and I think that's a problem. You know, if you're a computer engineer on contract working on a database or a website, or an app even for a flower company, that may be pretty boring compared to some other stuff. So it's probably just me not understanding what being a computer engineer is. I just find it kind of slow. at least until I start to learn more. It is hard. That's something that I realize is you're gonna go through this a few times because you have to learn. I mean, I understand how to think through the computer, through the programming language, but yeah, it's really frustrating not to be like, oh yeah, let me do this, pull it out of my brain and just translate it on. So that part's also a little frustrating. I did dabble a little bit in the Free Code Camp, which I'm a huge fan of too. Free Code Camp looked really great for full stack as well as back end, front end, Python. And there's definitely a lot of Python, and I would recommend kind of the good progression where if you use Scratch to kind of figure out the programming mindset and then go through C and then into Python, you can start to branch out. Through Codecademy, I was checking out C#, C, Python 3. I did Java and CSS, or sorry, HTML and CSS. So there's definitely a lot on those two platforms. Free Code Camp is free, but you should donate some money. As well as Codecademy does cost. The cheapest thing is to pay like $250-ish, somewhere in that realm, depending on when you watch this video and what their current rate is. That's your best deal. That gets you 12 months. Tons of good practice space. Lots of good information on there. Those are probably the two best things that I've seen. There's a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of other stuff out there, but you really need to do some investigation and really dive deep into how much you want to pay, what the platform offers. So I'm also kind of poking around some more until I can figure out exactly what area or what process works best for me. In the meantime, I just needed to step away because I know I need some more base information, and I'm going to take the Harvard class CS50 as well as the CS50X or CS50X, the Python as well as the computer science, because I just don't have enough foundational knowledge, so I want to acquire some more foundational knowledge. So I'm taking a break from all that and working on the 2 Harvard classes. That's through edX.org, pretty cool thing. You can take it for free, but if you want the verified certificate, then you have to pay like $150 per class, which is a steal because I love his energy and the speed. I love the fast pacedness of it because I want to get as much information as I can so that I can digest it and then go back and figure out and start to connect the dots. That's just how I learn. Also, I have kind of looked at some Project Plus PMP type things because I like the ITPM jobs as well. Might be a great transition for my current skill set into IT, and then I can start to work towards software engineer. So kind of looking at CompTIA's Project Plus certification. And in that realm, it also talks about a lot of, it's worth talking about in that realm a lot of the paper-based study material or online stuff, the certification stuff. So Project Plus, ITF, which is kind of foundational technology information or information technology fundamentals. So CompTIA's got some really great certifications that you could check out too if you're like literally starting from square one and you only know how to turn on a computer and send emails. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm doing some online code camps. I don't really have an opportunity to go in person. I would love to just say I'm going to take 4 months to pay however much money the code camp costs. Which if you've never looked at code camps, they can be really expensive. So Codecademy might be $250 a year, but a 4-month code camp that gets all of it done. And you, like me, I'm hindered by learning on my own because I think showing up to class and having peers really is helpful, but I just don't have the time or money to do it. But if you can afford a code camp, I think that's a great way to get where you're going. A lot of colleges have them online or in person, and there are other organizations that are starting. If you're coming out of the Army or really any part of the military, you can use GI Bill benefits to pay for that, but it's a great way to jumpstart. And to be honest with you, if you want to be a developer, it's probably your best bet to do a code camp over college. However, I do want to say college can help with a lot of things, so I think balancing it out, finding where you want to work, the role you want to work on, and figuring out your requirements is going to be your best bet, because in lieu of internships or on the job, you might get really good experience and come out of a computer science background or a computer science degree with a lot of experience that's applicable to software development. But yeah, I mean, really, you have to figure out whether you want to do online or in person. For me right now, I would love to do in person, but I'm doing online stuff. There's a lot of good digital code camps or learning to code projects, and there's a lot of websites like Hacker, learning how to run GitHub, learning how to run learning from countless online training programs. You really just need to do some research that's out there. I've got a link to a document that I typed up that's kind of got all the things I'm looking at. And then if you want to continue to specialize, Microsoft has a ton of certifications that are out there, AWS, you name it. There's so many certs out there. And that's the one thing that I struggle with the most, is picking your direction, and then balancing your normal 9-to-5 job with gaining new skills and trying to start new stuff. So I'm kind of stuck working at nights and weekends online, and yeah, kind of exploring my options. I thought I could just dive into and commit to something, but as I work with what I'm working, every day I'm constantly exploring new options. I think if you're brand new to IT, if you want to shoot for, especially if you're younger, going for a help desk role is a great place to start, and that's with your CompTIA A+ certification. Once you're there, if you want to be a network engineer or a sysadmin, like, you got to start adding Linux and Network Plus certification, Security Plus, cybersecurity analyst, IT business analyst, IT project management, software development, DevOps engineer, software engineer. I mean, really there's unlimited potential, and unfortunately, I want to do more videos on those as I learn more about them or talk to people or hopefully get into those roles. But you really have to do a lot of research about where you want to end up. And it's hard picking your first 2 years or getting those first 2 years of experience. You got to do what you got to do. You got to hustle for it. No one's going to give it to you. And if you do get those, or if you know someone in the industry, that's a great way to leverage that. Really helpful. So, hey, I hope this video is helpful. There's a lot of information to try and cram into one video. I want to do more, but this is kind of part one of how to get into IT, I guess, if you will.